Hello, Black America.
We're having a lovely discussion with a person who's been traveling like any of us would think. When you think traveler, you don't think about a casual. You think about somebody, they're always on a plane, they're going somewhere, they're seeing interesting things, cameras. And this is what I get when I look at, No Limit Eddie. Traveling 4 years, 25 now, been to 4 countries in Africa. A lot of good, has promoted on his channel for years, how wonderful it is. But we want to get into some of the bad, some of the stuff that you better be ready for. And I think what we have to start doing is realizing that if we're talking about leaving America, there are things here that we don't like. As much as we might say, yes, these things are developed, these things are in place, we already know we're dealing with things that make us uncomfortable as Black men and women. And so, no, we're not coming from a perfect place, is the point.
Clearly not.
So it's always a matter of weighing out the pros and cons. But Eddie, talk to lay out for someone who's making a plan to get to Africa, get to Egypt specifically over the next year or two because the cost of living is low. They can go and they can have a beautiful apartment for $500 US a month. They can live good. If they're only making 1,500, 2,000 a month, they can live comfortably. But tell us, what may be some culture shocks to them? What may be some things that have them, on the edge of the bed at night contemplating going home?
Okay, got you. Yeah, so that's the thing, right? I almost feel like most people are not ready to live outside of America, right? And so I say this because America is a culture more than it is a land, it's a culture. And so if you're kind of in that system, it's very hard to unplug from that system. And so I had a lot of success being in Africa because I didn't watch football. I didn't watch basketball. I wasn't keeping up with the Kardashians. I wasn't so ingrained. Well, I'm so serious. I wasn't so ingrained in American culture. And so what I do here is the same thing I was doing in the States, right? Just reading, focus, working, and so that's the thing. So some culture shocks we're gonna run into is like, yo, people are not gonna speak your language. In a lot of countries you go to, if you're coming to Egypt in particular, they're gonna speak Arabic, right? And so you gotta know that it's a Muslim country, and so you might be asleep, and next thing you know, you're gonna hear somebody singing over a loudspeaker. You know what I mean? You're gonna wake up to that a few nights, because the mosque are gonna do their prayer calls at sunrise, right? So sometimes it's 4 in the morning, sometimes it's 5 in the morning, right? So you gotta, kind of be used to that. You're also gonna be seeing like, especially in Egypt, they have this thing called Eid, and they're gonna like slaughter sheep and goats, and so you're gonna drive by, you're gonna see legs of animals on a road, like what the heck is this, right? And so there's all kind of stuff that is definitely going to be shocking to the average person coming from America over to Egypt, right? And so those are some of the big things I would say are the shocks or the culture shocks people may experience or expect when going to Egypt, for sure.
Do you feel? I remember I was in Dubai and heard somebody telling me, a Black man telling me that he felt more like a full Black man there because he didn't feel like the same pressures, the same fears, even if you will, of like law enforcement, things like that. What's your experience as far as feeling complete as a Black man living in Egypt or on the continent of Africa as opposed to the United States?
Yeah. So I would just use the word free. I feel free here, right? Like I can be myself 100% of the time and be okay, right? And so in America, like you do have the fear of everyone for the most part because you got gangs that are Black that want to kill you. You got white people that want to kill you. You got the police that want to kill you. You got the food industry that want to kill you. The medical industry want to kill you.
Right.
So it's enemy. You got
Gotta
to
be
be
a
on your
fear of
P's.
everybody. You're all against me.
Exactly. That's how
Yeah.
I can feel at times,
Yes, that's a
And
fact.
so to be in Africa, right, is freeing. Okay, so let's say for example, maybe your hair is not cut, you don't have a haircut, you can walk outside. Everybody's Black, they understand what it looks like when your hair is not cut, so you're not gonna get judged, or you're not gonna get like those weird stares or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like it's just different. The culture is just different to where you can be yourself 100% of the time and not feel judged for basically being yourself. That's one of the best things about being in Africa, the feeling of freedom that you have. I have a motorcycle in Egypt. I can speed past the police, cut in front of the police. They don't have that ego here. So where they want to prove I'm the boss, I'm the man. Like, no, people speed by the police all the time, and the police don't go and start chasing them down. In my 3.5 years of living in Egypt, I've seen 0 like police pullovers, right? And so, yeah. What they do instead is they'll do like kind of like a
passed
DUI.
one today.
You said what?
I passed one today.
Oh, really?
We're gonna see somebody pulled over by the police daily. You have seen it once in 3 years. That's incredible.
Right. And that's the thing, right? It's like they're fishing for problems, right? They want to give you a ticket for some reason to collect money for the state, right? And so you kind of have to deal with that so much in the States, but that's not necessarily what you deal with here. When the police are much more friendly, and I think it has to do with being like a homogenous society to where everyone is the same, so they can look at them as their brother or their sister, so they're not going to harm them. But in America, it's like, okay, it might be a white cop, he pulls over a black man, or it might be a black cop pull over an Asian man, whatever it is. But it's not brotherly love as it is in these other countries when they are homogenous, right? And so I feel like the police are more so members of the community in these countries, so they don't really have the desire to do kind of slimy business in like say Egypt. Now, when you go to sub-Saharan Africa, though, you're going to be safe, but they're going to try to get a bribe out of you, right?
Absolutely.
You know, they're going to try to get some extra money out of you. You know what I mean? If they can. So yeah.
No, that's not a bad thing. I would much rather our brothers and sisters be paying off bribes than not alive anymore. Right. You know, out here.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if we gotta let Ahmaud Arbery go, he got to come up with $500. Let him go. You know, let's come up with the money.
Right.
He'd be alive. So yeah, we take bribery all day over. You know what some of the issues we encounter here. So even as a black man, not being native to that land, not natively speaking the language, you don't get the racism or the negative undertones from the police out there.
Not at all. So, you know, when I go to the immigration, like some of it might be because I'm American and they dislike Americans. So if you're from another country, it may be different. But they have a lot of love for people, I would say, that are melanated. You know, a lot of Egyptians would be like, look, we're the same color. We're the same. Like, bro, you are way less than me, but we're the same. What you want to say?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They take pride in being black in Egypt. And so I think there's a big misconception that they think they're white or they think they're, you know, above black people. But from my experience with the Egyptians that I've dealt with, and I have a fair amount of Egyptian friends, no, they don't think themselves as better. They usually think themselves as black people. So
wow,
pretty interesting. Yeah.
We talked a little about your going to, you know, your decision making and what led you to Africa, but there's a lot of, you know, now a lot of folks are leaving America, and maybe a lot more in the months to come. But did you consider anywhere else? There's expat civilizations and different places around the world: Panama, Mexico, Philippines, even in. Well, you have to work there, Dubai and the Arab Emirates and things. Did you consider any place else? Or are there still longer range plans to maybe extend this around the world or go someplace other than it on the continent?
Yeah. So I would say in the beginning of like the relocation, no, I didn't consider anywhere else besides the continent. I was just considering a few countries like here in the Middle East. That was kind of my main consideration. But now, as kind of like that conversation we talked about earlier of like where you're going to settle down and things like that, it is a lot easier to settle in places in South America than it is to settle in places in Africa. It's just that laws are better down that side. And so I am kind of expanding my horizons a little bit to think of like, okay, where can I get a second passport from? Where can I get residency from that will kind of be beneficial for like a long-term stay? And South American countries seem to do that. And then my roots, I have, my dad is actually Jamaican. So I have kind of ties there to where I can probably get a passport there. And so I'm kind of looking at all those options.
So what is it going to take to win you over? The country who's going to win you over to stay, to plant your roots where you're not even looking at travel, you're always traveling, but I mean, what are you looking for in that place you're going to say, this is where I want to live? Regardless of where I travel, this is my home base. What are you looking for in that type of place?
Got you, got you. Yeah, so like right now, I want to say like Egypt is the home base. Like I love that country. But the thing is, like when you guys are kind of making these plays, it's for the audience. A visa law can change at any moment, and so you always have to have backup options in play. So if we can see, for an example, when the whole situation was Ukraine and Russia happened, people who had passports that were Russian got them revoked from a lot of different countries where they had bought citizenship from. And so at any moment in time, the tides could turn against you. And so this is why I'm saying I'm looking at trying to get a secondary passport. Maybe something happens with the U.S. and now these countries are not friendly, but I got a next one that I can use, right? And so kind of always want to have backup options available. And so that's why I'm here in South Africa to see, hey, maybe this can be a secondary home base. And that's what I'm always kind of looking at.
We've talked a little about, Eddie, about, you know, you're traveling, and I've watched a couple videos where you said you feel like you're, one of the main reasons you enjoy this type is because you feel like you're on vacation all the time, which is a great feeling. I wish I could, wish I could have more of that. Do you ever plan to come back? Do you ever, at this point, are you looking for a time, I don't know, 10, 20 years down the road, oh, I'll come back to America then? Or are you on this
visit?
Are you on this track for
America
for the
is
long term?
not on the list of places to
Yeah,
visit.
yeah. America's not on the list. America's not on the list. I mean, it's going backwards. It's not going forward. Progressing.
It's getting lower on the.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So if I have to go back to do some paperwork, anything like that, sure, I'll make it happen. But as far as like, I just want to go back to this, no, I don't really see that happening or progressing. You know, I plan to marry a nice African woman. You know, get citizenship that way too. Get a third passport probably. You know, get my children extra passports, and that's the plan. I have no desire to really go back to the States. I don't see anything that's going to benefit me from going back per se.
Did you you said paperwork? Were you able to? We just ended our political season here in America. Were you able to participate? Was that important to you at all? Did you participate in the election process?
Not really, man. Not really. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter who's president. You know what I mean? That's like you always got to find a way to do it on your own. You know what I mean? And make it happen. So I'm not a big voter. I don't even think I'm registered to vote, to be honest. Yeah. When I turned 18, there wasn't even an election. So by the time I left, it was no time to even register to vote. But yeah, I don't really deal with the politics too much, for sure.
And that's you know, there's a big group of people who are just like you at this particular point. You know, we're going to have to deal with whatever the results are of whether we are voting or not voting. And I think the people who are not voting, they're trying to be, you know, more self-sustaining. Listen, it's going to be on me. It's going to be on, you know, and I think as a community, when we consider what's happening here in the United States, even what we're seeing since President Trump has been elected, you know, you have a lot of people who are really just planning their own life. They're basically saying, hey, well, regardless, my guy who I voted, he got in. Some people are waiting for him to fix everything. Some people, they're like, okay, I need to make some plans. I need to, you know, I'm not going to sit here and wait. So and that's why this episode is so important, because frankly, I would tell anyone to go and visit Egypt immediately, if not sooner. If not sooner. Because a vacation to Egypt for a week, Eddie, U.S. roundabout, throw out a number, what a person could have a nice vacation eating. Take the plane out of it, because we never know what the plane is going to be. But just a week in Egypt, eating good food, staying at some nice places. What do you think it's going to cost?
Okay, so should I include hotel in there too, or
throw the hotel in, just everything except the plane.
Okay.
Just some some general estimates for the people listening.
Got you. Okay, so I would say for a week, if it's a solo person, I'm gonna just do the number, and then I'll do with the hotel. So I'll say $300 will take you super far. Like a $100, I think, is 4,700 Egyptian pounds. So it's like 47K per 100. Oh no, no. Like, yeah, 4.
You said $300 can take you far.
Yeah. Yeah, like $300 will take you very, very, very far.
Very far. It's people who
you'll probably
who looking at the
Yeah,
$300. You know you got $300. You're just sitting there. You
Right,
need to go. You got
right.
some plane. You got some mileage that you built up from when you used to
Right.
travel. You need to go ahead and book that trip. Redeem your points. Book your plane ticket. Take your $300 is insane. Go ahead. The fact
Yeah,
you can
like
stay in
dreaming
any
about
country
for,
and
like
live comfortably for a week
Yeah.
is out of control.
You
Go
can have
ahead.
a lot of entertainment, like because you can catch an Uber for 70 cents in Egypt. Like,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, like
What are we
it's
doing
insane.
out here?
Listen, I'm about to see if I can get a plane out of here this afternoon. Let's see where I can go.
Nah,
What
for
are we,
sure.
jerks?
So it's the spot, man. Egypt is a good spot, and it's underrated in a lot of cases, in my opinion. But it's like if you want the traditional, African feel where you're surrounded by Black people, go to Uganda. Uganda's a cool place. Very, very friendly people, very honest people. So that's my second vote. If you want the whole African feel, go to Uganda. You'll like it. If you just want to leave the U.S. and just kind of visit somewhere else, Egypt is a really, really good spot. I think it's highly underrated amongst our community.
Hello, Black America.